Welcome back to the channel everyone. The Era 100 has dropped and I've been using it for a while, so in today's video I'm going to talk about my experience with it. I currently have the Beam 2 and two Sonos One SLs in a surround sound setup, so I'm also going to compare it to the ones as standalone speakers as well as surround sound speakers. An important question I really want to answer in this review is whether or not the Era 100 is going to suffer from the lack of SonosNet compatibility. Many users out there with older routers like myself rely on SonosNet to get a satisfactory surround sound experience. I'll have a whole section on what SonosNet does and how the Era 100 performs without it later in this video. Anyway, this isn't going to be a super techie review with graphs and measurements because there are channels out there that are great at doing that, and I'm too dumb to understand those numbers anyway.
The numbers! What are they saying?
So check out P2P and Smart Home Sounds if you find that kind of data interesting, or if you like great Sonos content in general. My review is going to be subjective and purely based on the opinion from a guy who just wants the best sounding speakers he can afford. Roll the tape. So the Era 100 is the speaker you buy if you can't afford the Era 300. No, not really. The Era 100 in my opinion is a grown-up Sonos One. It's not quite a bigger brother because it doesn't do anything drastically different than the Sonos One. And it's also forgotten some of its old tricks in exchange for some new tricks. But I'll go over that later when I compare it to the Sonos One. The Era 100 is a stereo speaker. It has two tweeters angled outwards and a woofer in the center. You can input sound to the device through Bluetooth, AirPlay 2, line in if you buy an optional adapter, or link the Sonos app to your music services, and the Era 100 will connect to the Wi-Fi for your music. The speaker can also be controlled with the app, and the other options are responsive touch controls or voice assistants. You can block voice assistants with the mute button or use the switch at the back to turn off the microphone completely. The Bluetooth toggle button feels nice and tactile, and you only need to hold the button the first time you pair a device, and after that you can toggle Bluetooth mode straight from whatever it is you're using. Here's the weird thing about Bluetooth that was a very pleasant surprise. I thought that Bluetooth mode would only play music from the Era 100 because it's the only speaker in my setup that has Bluetooth mode, right? That's wrong. I was able to group my Era 100 to my living room setup. That's a Beam 2 and two One SLs, and control the sound through Apple Music. I also tested this with YouTube on my iPhone, MacBook and my partner's Pixel 7, so I can confirm it's not crossed wires with AirPlay 2 or just an Apple Music thing. To do this, I first connect my chosen device to the Era 100 via Bluetooth, and then I go into the Sonos app, click the grouping button and choose my speaker groups. Press done and Bob's your uncle. This to me is mind-blowing. It basically turns your older Sonos speakers into a Bluetooth compatible setup. Maybe this is common knowledge already, but I certainly didn't know about this feature before I received the Era 100. I can't say much about the USB-C socket. I know that it's for line-in and Ethernet features, but at the time of making my order, both the line-in and combo adapters were out of stock. I'm sorry, but I won't be covering that side of the feature set. How does the speaker sound? Well, I can tell you that if you're a fan of bass, you will absolutely love the sound coming out of the 100s. I'm not an audiophile, so forgive me if I'm explaining this poorly, but to me, the bass is forward compared to the mids and the highs. That means it's quite prominent and feels like it's in front of everything else. It's more noticeable in tracks where there's a lot of punchy bass, and I think the speakers sound best when it hits the deeper frequencies because It produces a very mellow and smooth bass that's more to my taste and interferes less with the rest of the mix. I did some testing with Adele's 21 album, which has prominent crispy vocals, and it did fare better against the lower frequencies, but if you're the kind of person who likes to play about with the EQ, you might want to experiment and turn the bass down a few notches. When it comes to build quality, there's not much I need to say. This is Sonos, and that means it's high quality. It's precise and it feels great to touch. It's robust in a way that a speaker at this price should be. One thing I will note is that the box is not suitable for hoarders. It doesn't close, so the top flap sits awkwardly after you open it. This is probably because Sonos intends you to recycle it. So as I mentioned before, my setup consists of a Beam 2 and two Sonos One SLs. The only difference between the One and One SL is that the SL variant doesn't have a microphone for voice controls and Alexa. I'm going to refer to both variants as just the Sonos One to make things easier. At this point, you might be asking, but Vey, what about the Sub Mini if you saw my Sub Mini review? And if you haven't, please go and check that out after this video. I'll link it at the end. Spoiler alert, I really love the Sub Mini, but I don't currently have it anymore because we live in a tiny flat, and if the Christmas tree doesn't go up, the lady is not happy. So we packed it away over Christmas, and I made the heartbreaking choice of returning it thanks to Sonos's super generous refund policy to save some money and space. But I highly recommend it if you can fit it into your budget and living space. So back to the topic of this video. I'm using the Ones as surround speakers, which are perfect for my tiny living space. How does it compare to the Era 100? When it comes to music, the 100 has a fuller sound thanks to the larger woofer and two tweeters. The 100 generally sounds bigger, but because the bass is so prominent, the Ones sound clearer to my ears when they're used individually. But as a stereo pair, the 100s balance out very well. The bass feels less aggressive and the clarity increases. It's a similar story when using them as surround speakers. To me, they fill the space better than the Ones, and they sound, for lack of a better word, cleaner. If you experienced a fuzzy static sound from your Ones when they were in surround mode, you'll be glad to know this has been fixed and eliminated on the 100s. The 100 is slightly taller and less boxy in comparison to the Sonos Ones, which now look a bit retro when sitting side by side with the newer speaker, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I still like the way the Ones look. The addition of Bluetooth in the Era 100 makes a huge difference in my opinion. I personally don't feel the need to replace the Ones in my surround setup because I'm satisfied with the performance. But as mentioned before, the Era 100 becomes a Bluetooth controller for your whole setup. So the idea of having one of these in the bathroom, the kitchen, or the bedroom is now something to consider because of the possibilities it opens up. Now, here's the bad news if you're upgrading from the Ones. The bass is just different enough so that your old stands and mounts are probably not going to work. The power cables are also slightly different now, so if you need a Flexon 5-meter cable, that will have to be replaced too. There is good news for a few of us. I got in touch with Soundbase, who are the company behind my speaker stands. If you haven't seen my review of them, the gist is I think they're the best ones on the market. And Soundbase told me that they're looking into replacement heads for the Era 100s right now, so as an existing owner of their one floor stands, there's no need to replace the whole frame. I'm not sure if they're going to charge for those replacement heads, but either way, it's less wasteful and less hassle for upgraders. So do I think the Era 100 is better than the Ones? Yes, they are better sounding, better functioning speakers overall, but that doesn't mean your current ones are obsolete. The Sonos One still does what it does well, and it has a feature that the Era 100 has dumped. made a video a few weeks back sharing my concerns with the removal of SonosNet from the Era 100 and 300. SonosNet is a private network that is automatically engaged if an Ethernet cable is connected to any device in your setup. So it doesn't have to be connected to your soundbar. It can be connected to one of the surround speakers, for example. The private network strengthens the bond between the Sonos speakers and limits interference with the 30 other Wi-Fi devices you have in your home. What does this mean in relation to the Era 100 and 300? Yo, what's up, man? Hey, man, you good?
Right, you got those new modems?
Yeah, man, they're good, innit? They've got Wi-Fi 6 and that, you know. What are you, your mum buy those for you? Oh, these? Yeah, they were sent to me when I signed up, innit? Bruv. It means that people like myself will need to buy a new router and hope that the Wi-Fi 6 compatibility in the Era 100, 300 and the router will be strong enough so we don't need SonosNet. This raises the true cost of upgrading your speakers, an extra price consideration for those of us who already have a perfectly functioning setup. A spokesperson for Sonos kindly told me that the 100 and 300 are not compatible with the Sonos Boost device either, so that isn't a workaround. But one promising theory making the rounds is that maybe a firmware update will make these newer speakers compatible with Matter, which Sonos signed up to last year and will probably be stronger than SonosNet. Who knows if and when that will be, but as it stands now, there's no SonosNet in the Era 100 and 300, which is what I rely on. So how did I do without it? My experience was mixed. I didn't get any problems with the speaker as a standalone unit. When I was listening to music through Sonos app or going via Bluetooth and even linking it to my other speakers, it all went without a hitch. Unfortunately, I did experience an occasional skip when listening to music on the Era 100s as a stereo pair. The music didn't drop or have any glitching sounds, it just fast forwarded a beat or half a beat. I had some issues when I paired them to my Beam 2 as surround speakers as well. Every couple of minutes I would hear a pop when I was watching Dolby Atmos content on Disney+. And a pop here and there might not be that intrusive, but I would argue that after spending several £100 on a cinema setup, the pop suddenly stands out a lot more. The strange thing is, it was only from the left surround speaker, so it's possible I got a slightly faulty one, or the issue only happens on that side. I don't know. In terms of unpairing and cutting out, it only happened once to me, and that was soon after pairing the speakers. So it could be that the devices were still in the process of handshaking properly. This is definitely less obtrusive than what was happening to me with the Sonos Ones before I got them onto SonosNet. So I do have faith that with a stronger router or with Matter technology, these issues have a high chance of not appearing at all. So just to be clear, the lack of SonosNet was only an issue for me and my crappy router with the 100s as surround speakers. If you have a Wi-Fi 6 router and the Era 100s as a surround pair, please let me know what your experience is like in the comments below. I hope this video has been useful for you today. It's worth mentioning that your experience could be completely different to mine, depending on your home network, your hardware, and even what kind of building you live in. Don't forget that Sonos has an amazing returns policy. So if you think their products might be for you, buy with full confidence from their official website. Having said that, here are my recommendations. If you don't have any Sonos speakers right now, and you're interested in jumping into their ecosystem, this is a great starting point. It's a well-built, good sounding speaker that Sonos will no doubt be supporting for years to come. If you can afford 2 of them for a stereo setup, your experience will be even better. If you already have the Sonos Ones and you use it for music, podcasts and YouTube, the Era 100 is still a good choice, especially if your aim is to expand your setup into new rooms and add Bluetooth control to the whole thing. If the intention is to replace the ones, I don't think that's necessary until Sonos decides to no longer support them. As a replacement, I would instead jump up to the Era 300 if that is within your budget. If you're using the ones as surround speakers, I don't think you need to rush out to upgrade. It will make a difference for sure, but in my opinion, the difference isn't big enough to justify an upgrade. You're better off jumping up to the Era 300 because that speaker will add a new dimension to the cinema experience with the upfiring tweeters. If the ones only work for you with SonosNet active, wait a few months to see what happens with Matter, or consider the price of a new router in your cost to upgrade. If you only have a Beam 2 and you want to add surrounds on a budget, skip the ones and jump straight to the Era 100. If you have an Arc, I'm assuming you have a few more bags to spend, so just go straight to the Era 300s and chuck in one of the amazing subwoofers whilst you're at it, you rich motherfucker. Fundamentally, the Era 100 is a good device. I personally wish it was closer to the Era 300 than it is to the Sonos Ones to justify a small upgrade. But if you're locked into a lower budget and your living arrangement doesn't allow the room for the Era 300, it's a good choice. Thank you for stopping by today. I'm hoping to get some time with the Era 300 soon if Sonos can get a pair of those out to me in the coming weeks. So please subscribe if you want to see more Sonos content and tech stuff in general. Check out one of these videos on screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.